This is Madam coming back to you again from Hollywood Unlocked. This article is done by Deja, Monet, and it says Congress finally agrees on second $900 billion COVID-19 stimulus package. It says Congress has finally agreed to the $900 billion stimulus plan to help Americans and businesses during the coronavirus pandemic. The announcement was made Sunday by Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, and it entails temporary $300 per week unemployment, $600 stimulus payments for the majority of Americans, the American population. It also includes new subsidies for businesses that have been affected the most by the pandemic, and funds for school, medical centers, and renters that are facing possible eviction. President Trump went on Twitter to criticize Congress for not agreeing on a decision. He also blamed China, claiming it was the fault of the American people for the pandemic. He tweets, "Why isn't Congress giving our people a stimulus bill? It wasn't their fault. It was done. It was the fault of China. Get it done and give them more money in direct payments." The next step for the Senate to vote on Monday, after both political parties agree they will not go on holiday recess until a deal is reached. Okay? It also goes on to say, advisors claim Trump stopped caring about COVID-19 pandemic. It says President Trump reportedly caring about the COVID-19 pandemic after he lost the election to President-elect Joe Biden, as told by one of his advisors. The report reveals the Washington Post states the president was more focused on post-election results rather than finding a solution to increase the number of coronavirus cases in November and December. One advisor said Trump just stopped caring and that the pandemic exceeded his expectations for it to be over. I think he's just done with COVID in the statement. I think he put it on a timetable and he's done with COVID. It just exceeded the amount of time he gave it. Several other aides reported the president did not believe in the scientific data and simple solutions provided by doctors to slow down the spread. However, the focus shifted mainly on 2020 elections and Trump's loss. In another statement, it says Trump went days without mentioning the pandemic other than to celebrate progress on a vaccine. The president by then had abdicated his responsibility to manage the public health crisis and instead used his megaphone almost exclusively to spread misinformation in a failed attempt to overturn the results of the election he lost. The President-elect Joe Biden. He lost to President-elect Joe Biden. And those are the two stories that I have for you. First off, about the pandemic stimulus. My whole feelings about that is generally like anyone else's. During this pandemic, we have seen countless of Americans not knowing each other, pulling together, helping each other, bridging gaps between people through class and, ethnicity. People really came out and helped each other more than the government did, and is still continuing to do so. If I had to point a good point out about this whole pandemic, I have witnessed this with my own eyes. I'm tremendously grateful for the people that had a little bit of extra to give or knew of programs to help people, and they got the word out, and people genuinely helped each other. Uh, you know, it's a beautiful thing to see. But as far as our government never had any intention on helping the people. They did get one thing right. However, this was none of our fault as the American people. This was thrust upon us, and not only was it thrust upon us, this was an existing issue that was growing bigger and bigger, and it was apparently being downplayed to the American public so it wouldn't cause a panic. And now we are in the thick of it. Cases increase daily, hospitalizations, and things like that, and the need is much greater for the people to be able to survive. I'm not too happy about the PPP loan, because you have people like Pastor Joel Osteen getting $3.2 million. You have Mitch McConnell's wife, which is the governor of Kentucky, receiving $3.2 million for her businesses. So it's not really helping small businesses. It's just a way for the rich to line their pocket. And sadly, a lot of the people that do own businesses, small businesses, they are the ones that suffer the most in that regard, and as well as the American people as well. $600 is not going to cut. It's not even going to be the bare minimum on some people's bills that they have racked up since this pandemic started about 6 months ago. So hopefully when the president-elect Joe Biden gets in there, he will bring a better, more comprehensive stimulus plan that will help and reach out to every American, not just most Americans, if you get my drift. As far as the second story, what I would have to say about that, I mean, it's Trump. He showed you who he was. He wasn't a good man when he first ran. There was things coming out about him, about his ways, his family, and things like that, and people just overlooked it. I did see a pattern which people would be like, well, I voted for Trump because he's a businessman and he's going to turn it around. Every person that's a businessman or a businesswoman does not mean that they're a good businessman or a businesswoman, and that's no shade to anyone that's a businessman or a businesswoman, but they know as well as I know there's some people that they don't even understand why they got into business in the first place. This man has had countless of bankruptcies and things like that. He disenfranchised people of color when people rented from him. Actually, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, owned some property in Maryland, and they were having issues when the pandemic started because they were raising the people's fees, like their late fees and all different types of fees for living in that apartment complex. So I actually did a story on that as well. But all in all, that's Trump. He's going to pardon himself. He's going to pardon everyone that helped him along the way, that he deems worthy of his shining glory. And the sooner he's gone, the better chance that the world has a chance to recover. He's downplayed Russia. He's been an ally to Russia the whole time, and it's just sad, Hopefully we can learn from this mistake. as Americans and be more conscious in the people that we pick when we go to those booths or when we mail in our ballots of who we want to run this country. And with that being said, you guys, thank you so much for coming through. Thank you so much for taking the time out to listen to my video, even if it's a portion. I am tremendously grateful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And with that being said, I will get back with you guys later.